What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the City Life Project YouTube channel for yet another MMA predictions video. Today, we are running down the RIZIN.45. That's right, the RIZIN New Year's show, the best MMA show of the year. Let's get right into it. Starting with our first matchup of Yushi Sakura against Ren Hiramoto. For this one, I have Yushi Sakura. Sakura has the MMA experience. Hiramoto lost his only amateur MMA fight. Yushi Sakura, layup of an opponent, going to get the crowd going early there in Japan, as may not be the most exciting fighter, but the walkouts are pretty damn entertaining. Though he's Ren Hiramoto's brother and a talented kickboxer, we haven't seen enough of him in mixed martial arts. He's had one amateur fight that he lost, and though Sakura is not the most talented fighter, 3-1 on a 3-fight win streak. Easy pick here. Coming in at -275, I am going with the favorite Yushi Sakura. Next on the card, we have Ryujin Nasukawa against Shin. Two fighters making their debut in pro mixed martial arts. And for this one, I am going with Ryujin Nasukawa, coming in at -700, the huge favorite here. Now look, both of them kickboxers. Both of them coming in here, making their pro MMA debut. I doubt either of them are going to take this to the ground, but it's very much a star that RIZIN wants to have as their own, be able to push and develop in their promotion, versus a Korean regional kickboxer who is fine, but not even close to this 17-year-old phenom that is Ryujin Nasukawa, the youngest fighter in RIZIN history. And no joke, fought 2 weeks ago and called out Sakibara-san, who was watching cage side, or ringside I should say, called him out and said, I should be a RIZIN fighter. I want to fight in your promotion. And hey, RIZIN called him right after and was like, how about the New Year's show? So what an absolute G. Tenshin's younger brother, talented Rise fighter, and knock on wood for RIZIN, a new star that they can push through their organization as an MMA fighter, that they can mold as their top MMA fighter moving forward, who also has that superstar pull from his older brother, the kickboxing phenom Tenshin Nasukawa. Again, -700. They found a Korean regional kickboxer who again is fine. He can strike, but this 17-year-old kid, he's talented as hell. And though -700 might be a slap in the face to the Korean, I have Ryujin Nasukawa winning this one, locking it in. Let's get to the next one. Tatsuki Shinotsuka against Daichi Tomizawa. For this one, I have Tatsuki Shinotsuka coming in at -300. I have the favorite for this one. Now, this one is a open finger gloves kickboxing. So in other words, MMA gloves kickboxing, kind of like what we see in One Championship, except this is going to be under RIZIN's kickboxing rules, not the Muay Thai like One Championship does it. Tatsuki is a Crush veteran, and Crush is a fun kickboxing league. This one is K1 versus Breaking Down, ladies and gentlemen, and obviously Crush being under the K1 banner. I just think Tatsuki has fought better opponents in his career. This should be an awesome and exciting matchup. This will be one of the more exciting matchups on the first few fights of this card, as this card is coming in 3 parts. 2 intermissions on this card, so we better hear a lot of announcements. One of which being the next landmark fight card is being announced. I really think that the more experienced Tatsuki Shinotsuka will win this one. +240 though for Daichi Tomizawa, who's also a young Japanese fighter who's done pretty damn good on the kickboxing scene himself. Not a terrible underdog. I'm not confident enough to pick him though. That's why I'm going with Tatsuki. Let's get to the next one. Huge card here, ladies and gentlemen. Huge card. Next, we have Suguru Ni against Satoshi Yamasu. Now, this is the first underdog I'm going with. I am going with Suguru Ni. He's a G. and he's the king of Pancrase right now, ladies and gentlemen. I got him at plus 110, and his last 2 fights were awesome, man. Awesome. We got the former Deep champ in Yamasu against the 2-time king of Pancrase champ in Suguru. In his last fight, he won the Pancrase title to become the king, and before then, he was the guy in our video that showed how the PFL is a joke of an MMA organization and why RIZIN's better. He was the star of that show, as unlike in the PFL where 2 friends who don't want to fight each other will just hug it out for 3 rounds, Suguru Ni kicked, knocked out, broke the orbital bone of his old high school friend and kicked him in the face on the ground for good measure. That's why RIZIN is savage, and that is why I'm picking Suguru Ni. Look, he doesn't have as good of wrestling as Yamasu, but Ni's just a savage, and he loves utilizing the superior rule set that is in RIZIN. He is well-rounded, but he has to avoid being wrestled in this fight. Let's be perfectly honest. He's got to keep this on the feet. He's got to employ his knees and his counter shots, because if Suguru Ni is forced to wrestle and his offense on his feet gets taken away from him, Yamasu will just wrestle his way to a boring decision. But I'm going with the underdog on this one. I'm going with Ni, king of Pancrase, 2-time king of Pancrase champion, coming off 2 fun wins. He's on a 4-fight win streak in Pancrase and RIZIN. If you just watch his last 2 fights, you'll be sold on him as well. Yamasu's no joke, 13-7, but he lost his last fight. He's only 2-3 in his last 5. So again, going with Ni on this one. Let's move to the next bout. Next, we have another custom rules bout on this one. Well, I guess the last one wasn't necessarily custom rules bout. It was just a kickboxing match in RIZIN MMA gloves. This one is the first special rules bout on the card, where we have Yuta Kubo against Rukiya Anpo. Now, I really like Anpo. I think he's a very talented kickboxer, but you cannot count out Yuta Kubo. Now, this one, 2 5-minute rounds instead of 3, and the odds are super close in this one. And I imagine there's going to be like a sudden death round or something, or it's just a 2-round MMA fight, and whoever wins fight as a whole is going to take this one. Again, kind of weird. We have 2 K1 kickboxers who've crossed over to mixed martial arts squaring up in this one. And funny enough, despite both of them fighting for a while in K1, they never fought there. So they're fighting for the first time in a custom rules MMA fight here in RIZIN. Kubo's more the veteran. Anpo is the younger guy, 28-year-old versus the 36-year-old Kubo. Having said that, Kubo hits very, very hard and had a pretty big career in kickboxing. Now, Anpo's fought a lot as well, but I do think he'll recover faster if Kubo cracks him. Anpo is tough as nails, and though he's debuting in mixed martial arts, he's younger, and at plus money, you just got to go with him, because I think at this stage in his career, I don't care if it's kickboxing or just primarily a custom rules stand-up MMA fight, which is probably what we're going to see here, especially going up against another kickboxer in Kubo. I doubt Kubo's going to try to take him down, and if he does, well, Godspeed, ladies and gentlemen. Got to go with the younger guy, especially when he's at plus money, and he's a motherfucker of a kickboxer as well. So we're going with Rukiya Anpo plus 100 in this custom rules 2 5-minute round MMA fight, where you might not have... I don't think they're allowed to soccer kick or use any of the superior rules as well, but we'll find out the day of the card if that is correct. Number 6, ladies and gentlemen. We got Joe Arai against Hiroya Kondo. This one, well, just look at the tail of the tape here, ladies and gentlemen. Just look at the tail of the tape. Easy pick. Easy pick for this one. I'm going with Joe Arai, minus 340. He's the heavy favorite. Way better. There's not really much else to say. 2 division Shudo champ. He actually made Shudo Japan champion. He actually made our top 5 regional highlights of the week a few weeks back. He's on an 11-fight win streak. 11 KOs in his 16 wins. Though he's prone to getting submitted, I do not think Hiroya Kondo is going to get it done. For some reason, Hiroya Kondo is just always going to get fights in RIZIN. He could go on a 5, 6, 7 fight losing streak, and RIZIN's still going to find a fight for him. The fans love him. He's popular in Japan, and at least he tries out there. At least he tries. Look, he's not horrendous, okay? He's not horrendous. I know he's on a 3-fight losing streak in Deep and RIZIN. He seems to only get his wins in Deep against lesser opponents. 8-12-1. It doesn't tell the whole story. Like, he is a crafty veteran, but again, he's nowhere in the same tier as Joe Arai. And yeah, I have here in my notes, he can lose 5, 6, 7, 8 in a row. RIZIN will always pay him, but at minus 340, Joe Arai, it is easy. It's easy money. It's easy pick here. Let's move on to number 7. An interesting one here, ladies and gentlemen. An interesting one here. And though Igor Tanabe is the huge favorite against Shinsho Anzai, this one might make people some money. This one might make people some money. And all I'm going to say on that is don't get greedy. Don't get greedy. Igor Tanabe is the minus 800 favorite. He is my pick. He should submit Anzai in the first round, second round at max, at most, right? But he should get it done in the first round. Having said that, I'm sprinkling a half unit on Anzai just in case. Just in case, dude. Because he's not the worst underdog, being a former UFC guy. Again, Tanabe is an insane Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu phenom, and he used to roll and fight at heavyweight, now at welterweight. And like, he used to be a really big guy. Now he looks like a big but an athletic welterweight, not an unhealthy welterweight who cuts so much weight he's dying in there, right? He's done the right things to get down to that weight class, and he still has a lot of his strength that he had as a heavyweight. He's never been tested on the feet. However, Anzai is not a natural striker in mixed martial arts, and it's kind of on a dip in his career. 2-3 in his last 5 on a 2-fight losing streak. He's no longer the fat ninja, is Tanabe. Anzai, though, is a decent fighter. Dare I even say he's a veteran, like a good veteran with a 9-5 record? No. For a guy who's 2-2 in the UFC and actually fought in Bellator as well, you can't count him out. Now, Michael Venom Page beat him, hurt him bad. He fought in Combate Global and lost to a 9-3 guy. He did fight in Deep where he got a win. Lost to Jake Matthews in the UFC. Beat a 12-3 guy and a 4-1 guy as well. So, went on a run in Pancrase. Again, a little half unit. Something. $1, even $1 USD. There in Anzai, you know, could pay a little something there given how big of an underdog and how little of a chance that everyone gives him. I think he's personally washed at this point. 38 years of age. Started late in mixed martial arts anyways. He's gone through some injuries. He's had some bad losses. And RIZIN is kind of feeding Tanabe a layup here. But again, it's a guy who has a lot of experience and he's fought at the highest level. So I'm going with Igor Tanabe, but I think minus 800. Again, given the experience that Anzai has had, it's a little much. It's a little much. All right, let's go to number 8. Number 8, we have Kota Miura against Koji Tanaka. And this one in another special rules bout in RIZIN. 2 5-minute rounds, no strikes on the ground, soccer kicks, or knees to grounded opponents. Again, that clause hasn't been announced officially in the Rukiya Anpo fight. We just assume that that's the case. Knock on wood, it's not. But in this one, it is the case. 2 5-minute rounds, mixed martial arts, but none of the superior rule sets. The pussified rule sets of North American MMA, if you want to call it that, which I will call it that. But anyways, this one's interesting. Again, 2 kickboxers going at it here. Kuzi hits hard. Kuzi traditionally has had a good chin. Kota Miura, though, has more mixed martial arts experience, and this is a mixed martial arts bout. 2-0 in MMA, whereas Koji Tanaka, a very, very good kickboxer with that grappling element thrown in there, and with Kota Miura's, again, just experience. He's been in the ring for MMA fights. I got to go with him as the winner, and he is the minus 205 favorite. Again, Kuzi has a good chin. I think, if anything, Kota Miura will beat him by employing mixed martial arts, not just striking. Honestly, I think they're going to have a decent scrap on the feet there, and as soon as Kota Miura maybe takes one too many, or in his mind is like, all right, I've landed enough combos here, the judges know I've done enough damage, I'm going to take this to the ground and smother him, because I have that experience. I am training mixed martial arts. I'm competing in mixed martial arts now, whereas Koji Tanaka is not even competing in mixed martial arts right now. He's still very much a kickboxer. So again, Kota with the experience, younger. Tanaka at plus 175 is not a bad underdog, especially if you guys think that this is just going to stay on the feet and Kota Miura is just going to want to stand and bang with him. I personally think he'll mix in some grappling, even if it's not the most glamorous of sorts. At minus 205, I got to go with Kota Miura. Let's get to number 9. Shinobu Ota versus Ryusei Ashizawa. Now, I absolutely love Ashizawa. He is a character. He's making his pro MMA career because RIZIN just feels bad for Shinobu Ota because Ota lost a split decision in the last one and he cried after. So that's literally the reason why RIZIN is giving Ota Ashizawa. Ashizawa, man, crazy walkouts, fun kickboxer in RIZIN, but like I said, making his pro MMA debut, a talented kickboxer, and one of my favorite fighters in RIZIN, not necessarily because of his kickboxing pedigree or talents, but because of the show. Because of the show. At the last landmark event that he was at, he was the underdog. He beat his opponent, who is the hometown boy, and then just grabs the mic and just starts battle rapping, just dissing the whole crowd. It was crazy. Gravedigger Jones was losing his mind. He was straight spitting. It was unbelievable. But again, this is pure striker with little to no, just with no MMA experience, going up against the 4-3 Ota, Japanese wrestling phenom who has experience in mixed martial arts, and had a split decision in his last fight in Azerbaijan it wasn't that close of a fight, but again, if you rewatch it, I guess like points wise, you know, it was a close fight. I did think Ota was gonna lose. He did lose. Split decision, whatever. Very disappointed in himself. RIZIN wants to get him back on the win column. You know, 5-3 for their marketable wrestler. Looks a lot better than 4-4. So they fed him with a popular and, you know, bad boy type figure in Ashizawa. But this one should be a layup for Ota. He's the minus 1,500 favorite, guys. So, I mean, if you want to get crazy, go with Ashizawa. If you want to get even crazier, I'm sure you can bet on if he's going to rap or not after if he wins. Like I said in my notes, love Ashizawa, the battle rap. He's a good kickboxer, but he's not an MMA fighter. Ota is. Not the best, but a very good wrestler, silver medalist at the Olympics. He's going to submit Ashizawa in the second round. Not even the second round. He's going to submit him in the first round. He's going to take him down and submit him or ground and pound. But I think it's going to be a submission first round. Let's get to number 10. Yuki Motoya versus Vince Morales. This is a fun one, man. This is a fun one. Another American and another former UFC fighter for that of Yuki Motoya. I swear, man, Yuki Motoya, he's the UFC killer. He's beaten Scoggins. He's beaten Alan Nascimento early in his career. And he had no contest recently against Efrain. Look, I'm picking him to win. I'm picking Yuki Motoya. I got him at minus 150. And I just think well, I know he's beaten better competition throughout his career. He's beaten UFC guys. ATT versus JTT, baby. Morales is not a bad underdog at plus 115, but I think the safe bet is minus 105. The safe pick is Yuki. 3-1 against Americans, 3-2 against ex and future UFC fighters. He's way more complete. 34 wins, 11 losses, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's coming off a win. 34 years of age, going up against a 33-year-old out of Oregon, 13-7. He is on a 2-fight win streak, is that of Vince Morales. Beaten, fought with, and has more experience at the end of the day. So this one I think is going to be a fun fight, but I have Motoya beating another American here in Japan. Number 11, and honestly, one of the fights that I'm most excited for on this card. We have the flyweight title contender fight here in Hiromasa Kubo versus John Dodson. Man, this one's gonna be fun. We have the tough runner-up in Mini Sakuraba going up against the tough winner in John Dodson, the BKFC champ, John Dodson. Whoever wins this one is going to get the title shot. Now, I know Kubo is coming off 3 losses, and you guys are like, well, okay, one more win, he's going to get a title shot. RIZIN, this is crazy. What kind of league is this? His last 3 losses have been to the guys in the top 3. Juan Archuleta, the champion. Kyoji Horiguchi, champion. Suchul Kim, top contender. Before then, he got himself on a run. He beat Kai Asakura, man. He beat Kai Asakura, who's going up against Juan Archuleta, right? He's just getting up there in age, man. 25, 8-2. And this last 3 losses have really been hard on him and is questioning his drive to continue. So cool that he won the RIZIN Grand Prix a few years back. So cool that he beat Kai Asakura. But Father Time waits for no one. And despite being 39 years of age, John Dodson he's breathing a second win here, man. On a 3-fight win streak right now. So he lost his last fight in the UFC to Marab. Lost 1 fight to Cody Gibson in XMMA. Beat Francisco Rivera in XMMA. And then has had 2 wins in RIZIN and a couple wins in BKFC. Or 3 wins in BKFC, and he is the title holder in BKFC. And I've said it, guys. I've said it. If John Dodson wins the RIZIN belt as well against Horiguchi or Shinryu, he is the rightful BMF. He is the baddest motherfucker. If you have a belt in a promotion that has a superior rule set, if you have a belt in BKFC, I'm sorry, you are more of a bad motherfucker than that of a Justin Gaethje. It's fact, ladies and gentlemen. It's fact. I'm going with John Dodson on this one, minus 310. He's on a tear in BKFC, 3-fight win streak in MMA, 2 of those in RIZIN. Despite being 39, he's 39 years young, ladies and gentlemen. And though Kubo could utilize his wrestling if he can't match Dodson on the feet, Dodson is more of an aggressive wrestler. I think he'll be in better shape, and he just does more damage. He adds MMA to his wrestling, right? Rather than Kubo at this stage in his career who will just go into grappling mode and kind of forget to do damage. So I got John Dodson winning this one, and I think this might be the end for Kubo's career. He might hang him up after this one, folks. And what a career he's had, Mini Sakuraba. Anyways, let's move on to number 12. The big boys. The big boys, ladies and gentlemen. Heavyweight kickboxer against a former sumo wrestler, now a top heavyweight in RIZIN and potentially a future UFC signee if he takes out Ueda in relative easy fashion. For this one, I am going with the former sumo wrestler. I am going with Tsuyoshi Sudario, coming in at minus 325. Look, he just got the experience. He's got the experience. Now, Mikio Ueda coming in heavyweight MMA as a kickboxer, it's a good base, man. It really is, because 9 times out of 10 you're gonna be squaring off as a heavyweight in mixed martial arts. And I think this is a good test for Ueda. He's going up against a guy who's been testing his hands, testing his power, and actually polishing his skills in mixed martial arts, and particularly in the stand-up department in Sudario. But Sudario's just a better heavyweight prospect in MMA. He just is. He's 2 years younger. He's fought way better competition, way more well-rounded. Now, we haven't seen him use his grappling much, but you gotta imagine he trains it. He is a MMA fighter now. 4-1 in his last 5, 8-2 as a pro, whereas Ueda's only 2-1. He's on a 2-fight win streak, but again, layup. Ueda does have decent stand-up, well behind Sudario, though, as far as his MMA development goes. Has really nasty kicks, especially those low kicks. But I think Sudario might take him down and ground and pound him, man. And if he does knock him out in beautiful fashion or show that he's actually more well-rounded than we think he is, he could go to the UFC after this. The UFC heavyweight division is not great. And do I think he'll be champion in the UFC? No. But the UFC needs whatever talent, even a little bit of talent that they can get in their heavyweight division right now. And if not, keep building the heavyweight division in RIZIN. And bring some former UFC guys. Hell, bring Rampage. He said he'd fight heavyweight in RIZIN. Let's go, baby. All right, let's get to number 13. We have the only Canadian on the card here in Miyu Yamamoto. This is her final professional mixed martial arts fight or combat sports fight. This is her final swan song. And if it was not for a knee injury, I believe, that put her out for a while, she would have actually fought for the title in RIZIN, but she has a tough task here in Sika Izawa. Sika Izawa is the best atomweight fighter in the world in women's MMA. She's undefeated, 11-0, 26 years of age, deep champ, RIZIN champ, and the fighting queen bee out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, on a 3-fight losing streak, 1-4 in her last 5, coming off surgery, 49 years of age. I mean, this is her final swan song. She's going up against the best atomweight in the world. God, I want to root for Canada here, but she's going to get smoked. Izawa's the minus 2,000 favorite. And again, Yamamoto almost 50, man. Almost 50. She's Canadian, so I'm going to root for her. This is terrible matchmaking, but I guess she's going out with pride. And look, I'm not just picking against her because she's that old. And because her record doesn't look good and because she's on 3-fight losing streak. I would probably pick Izawa over most atom weights. If not every atom weight in the world right now. She's that good, man. She's that good. So I think this is going to be an absolute beatdown. Shoot, man. Izawa might even knock her out. She's got some power in those mitts. Deep champion. Best atom weight in the world. Oh, man. I'm scared to see the Canadian go out. Hopefully we see Yamamoto just go balls to the walls, though. Throw some grounded knees. Utilize the superior rule set. I mean, this is a huge send-off for fighting one of the best in the world. And I imagine she's probably going to employ the wrestling. And like I said, utilize the knees if she can. Especially if she gets into like side control or north-south or things like that. But anyways, I got the favorite winning on this one. Let's move to number 14. Ren Hiramoto against Ren Sugiyama. Yeah, man. Sugiyama. And these two have been going back and forth on social media, press conferences, and that's what you want to see. That's what you want to see. Building up a little bit of drama here. I cannot wait. For this one, I have Yaman. Yaman making his debut in mixed martial arts, a decorated kickboxer in his own right. And Ren Hiramoto hasn't really looked good in mixed martial arts yet. Very much more a kickboxer. He's 2-3 as a pro in mixed martial arts. Lost his last fight. 25 years of age, but very much a K1 guy, man. Very much a kickboxer. We have Rise versus K1 here, and I doubt this is going to the ground, ladies and gentlemen. This is an MMA fight, but let's be honest. Yeah, doubtful Hiramoto takes this to the ground. Doubtful he will utilize any grappling that he has been learning. I love Yaman, dude. I love Yaman. I've watched a ton of his kickboxing fights. And Hiramoto in kickboxing is 11-4 with 6 KO TKOs. Yaman, who's been playing the heel here against the Japanese star, that is Hiramoto, 14-4 in kickboxing, 7 KO. He's primarily fought in K1. Ren Hiramoto primarily fighting in Rise. I'm going with the underdog. I'm going with the Yaman plus 130. Let's get it done, baby. Let's get it done. First MMA fight. Hopefully these guys just throw down in those RIZIN gloves and we see a knockout from Yaman. That is my pick, locking it in. Let's get to number 15. In the featured fight on the card, we have Kleber, Koike, Erbst against Yutaka Sato. We got two former featherweight RIZIN champions going at it here. Sato 21-7-2. Koike, Erbst 31-7-1. Both of them on kind of a down stretch in their particular careers. However, I still think Erbst has a little gas left in the tank and less wear and tear on his body as far as, well, getting hit, because he still hates getting hit, and how he wins his fights is nabbing up a limb early. Sato, though, early in his RIZIN career was an absolute beast. He is only 2-3 in his last 5, and his last one was a split decision against a Ren Hiramoto, who we were just talking about as a kickboxer, not an MMA guy, and he took him to a split decision. That's unacceptable as the former champ, right? So I think this one's actually a layup for Erbst. And I hate to say that. I hate to be disrespectful to the former champ in Sato, but he's 36 years of age. He's over the hump. He's far from what he was when he won the RIZIN belt. I'm going with Erbst. He's the minus 550 favorite. I think Sato's going to get subbed in under 5 minutes, personally. Both of them veterans, but again, that split decision to Ren Hiramoto, that is horrendous, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is a layup for Erbst to get him back in the title picture, so that maybe not in his next fight, but maybe the fight after that, they can set up the rematch against Suzuki. I imagine RIZIN wants Suzuki to at least defend the belt once before he takes on Erbst again, because Erbst subbed him so quickly in the first round. Yeah, Sato's far from the champion that he was. I think Sato will start strong, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think he'll fade quickly, and Erbst actually prepared to strike a little bit in this one. He actually went and trained at ATT, knowing that Sato's no slouch. He might defend a takedown or two. I might be forced to strike a little bit. And Kleber doesn't stay in Japan for striking. He goes either to Thailand or to ATT to train. Former champ versus former champ, and I think Kleber will win this one. Kleber, he's going to sub him, whether it's under 5 minutes or early in the second, in my opinion. All right, co-main event of the evening, number 16. Let's get to it. In the co-main event spot, we have Juan Archuleta against Kai Asakura. This is for the RIZIN Bantamweight Championship strap. Juan Archuleta defending here against Kai Asakura. Archuleta on a 4-fight win streak right now. 29 wins, 4 losses. Up against Kai Asakura, who, if he wins this one, has aspirations to go to the UFC. Also 4-1 in his last 5, and he won his last fight. 20 wins, 4 losses, 29 wins, 4 losses also for Juan Archuleta. Kai Asakura, 30 years of age. Archuleta, 36. Oh, man. I'm going with Asakura. At plus 100, I'm going with Kai Asakura, and this is why. I think he's going to catch him. Look, we know how Juan Archuleta wins fights, especially in RIZIN. I don't think Juan Archuleta's thrown a grounded knee or a soccer kick once. I don't think he's utilized I mean, maybe he's thrown one knee, but I don't think he's really utilized the superior rule set in his favor just yet. Kai Asakura, he has no problem doing that, and he's used to it. However, Archuleta's no joke, man. He is no joke. He's the only man to have beaten Patchy Mix, but Asakura's dialed and has a goal, and that goal is to go to the UFC, and he's definitely capable of beating Juan. Juan is the 3rd ranked fighter in the bantamweight division, and he's a RIZIN's champion. This is a huge fight for Juan, as if he beats Kai Asakura, that's a huge title defense, and that'll put him right in the picture to go up against PFL's champion in their bantamweight champion versus champion tournament. There's a lot riding on this one. I imagine Juan is going to utilize his wrestling, and I hate to say this, but make it a more boring of a fight. Asakura, I mean, his game plan has to be counter the wrestling with strikes. Try to land a knee, try to land a kick, try to land an elbow, something, and then get back up to your feet. Do it all over again. Don't try to wrestle with the wrestler. Try to make sure the wrestler gets punished for shooting. And I think that's the game plan that his team probably put together. Now, can he employ it? We shall see. Juan will give him, though, time to finish him, as Juan is a decision fighter. His last 4 wins have all come via decision. So Juan's going to give Kai Asakura time to finish this fight. Can Kai Asakura capitalize on it? I think he can. I'm picking him to win at plus 100. Let's get to the main event. Number 17. The rematch for the flyweight championship. Again, the winner of this fight will fight the winner of John Dodson and Mini Sakuraba. This is a rematch only because Shinryu was poked in the eye and it became a no contest at the Bellator vs. RIZIN card earlier this year. Kyoji Horiguchi against Makoto Shinryu. One of the best Japanese fighters of all time in mixed martial arts, going up against the new Japanese prospect outside of the UFC. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. The best Japanese fighter in the world in mixed martial arts is going up against a new top prospect. Let's dive into it, ladies and gentlemen. Horiguchi, the legend, 31-5 as a pro. He is 2-1 in his last 5 fights. Shinryu, he is 4-0-1 in his last 5 fights. I have Horiguchi winning this one at minus 285. It's the young gun versus the veteran, ladies and gentlemen. The last fight was supposed to be for the Bellator flyweight championship, ladies and gentlemen. This one is for the RIZIN flyweight champion. So just important to note the distinction there. This is Shinryu, who is the deep champion and the Cage Fury FC champion. So he does have a North American title, which is valuable, going up against the 2-time Shuto Japan champion, the 2-time bantamweight champion in RIZIN, the RIZIN Grand Prix champion, and the former Bellator champion, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, Bellator belts, the 2-time bantamweight champion in RIZIN, and the Grand Prix winner in RIZIN. Not to mention 2 Shudo belts in his early career. Not to mention a run in the UFC where his only loss was to Demetrius frickin' Johnson. 7-1 in the UFC's only loss was a title fight to Demetrius Johnson. What an absolute legendary career, and it's far from over. He's 33 years of age. He's still got gas left in the tank, man. I think this is a good division for him. The only way Shinryu beats him is a submission, utilizing his size and strength. Because Shinryu, he's a big boy. He's filling out. He's 23 years of age. He's no lanky kid anymore, and he looked big at their press conference. But Horiguchi, he's been small forever, man, and that still doesn't matter. He's only lost to the best of the best, too. Patchy Mix and Sergio Pettis. He's got way more experience. He's not digressed I think he humbles Shinryu, and I think this is a good test for Shinryu. Win or lose, this is Shinryu's biggest test, and he's going to learn a lot about this. And if Shinryu beats him, the next big Japanese star has arrived, ladies and gentlemen. I do think Horiguchi wins this one. I do think we see Dodson against Horiguchi. Dodson versus Horiguchi for the belt next. And I just cannot wait for this main event because I've been a huge fan of Shinryu for like the last 2-3 years. And obviously Horiguchi has been my favorite Japanese fighter for the last decade plus, ladies and gentlemen. So that is it. Let me know your picks in the comments below. Let me know which ones you disagree with. Let me know if I missed any good opportunities here to catch an underdog, to catch a favorite. And 2 last tidbits before we sign off. Another big shout out to Juan Archuleta, one of only 2 Americans to hold a RIZIN belt. King Mo is the other. And I heard a rumor that Nate frickin' Diaz might be at RIZIN.45. If he can get into the country, that is. Rumored to be at the 45 show either as a guest ringside, or maybe some other news might be announced. Again, rumor. I hope it's true. I hope they let him in the country. That's it for this prediction video, guys. Like and subscribe, and I will see you New Year's Eve. Happy holidays. Let's go RIZIN, baby.